Hello everybody, my name is Joost Pikkert and I work at the Canada Institute of Linguistics, and in this presentation I just want to give you a little overview as to how we took competency-based training and we rolled it into the development of our MA in the translation of scripture. In this presentation, what I hope you'll come away from is that you'll be able to see how you can take some of the competency-based material that SIL's put out and that we are presently using around the world in order to train credentialed Bible translation consultants, and use some of this material to develop possibly your own MA in Bible translation, or you can see how we have done it. And what I also hope you will learn is if you do this in your context or in your regional language, that you'll avoid some of the pitfalls that we've experienced. And I'll explain some of these in this paper, and also how you can apply the material we have to possibly your own language context and your own geographical area of the world. Much of the training that we do as Bible translation organizations is of a very high quality. Training in discourse analysis and language analysis and translation and key terms and semantics and all this material is of quality that should be recognized. And the sad thing is all this training that we put together and we give our MTTs leads just to a certificate at the end of the workshop. And so if we can roll all this training into something that's coherent, the people can graduate from this program with all this training that we provide with an MA degree that can then help them either get a PhD degree, or it can help them get the qualifications needed to become a pastor in their own denomination. So that's what I'll be discussing in this presentation. And the sample size that I am drawing from are 10 students. These 10 students, 4 come from Ethiopia, 1 from Zambia, 2 from Asia, and 3 from Nigeria. And let's go into how we put this program together. This program began with outcomes that were developed by SIL. Now, all these outcomes, we then herded into different domains: biblical studies, linguistics, translation skills, consulting and management skills, and then a capstone for actual Bible translation consulting. And out of this, we then developed modules. So the list of modules that you see here, biblical interpretation, Old Testament foundations for translation, etc., etc. They provided something that at the end of the program looks like a transcript. So a person who graduates gets the transcript, and these look like courses, and we've assigned a number of credits to this. And this is all to help the person move on and show what they know in each one of these domains. And this was all developed by SIL and then reformulated into this MA program. So one of these modules is biblical exegesis for translation. All right, so I've taken this as a model, and the outcome here is the student demonstrates a godly approach to scriptural exegesis, incorporating an ability to use biblical Hebrew and Greek exegetical tools to the degree that they can effectively interact with various lexicons, concordances, word study aids, and critical commentaries to exegete a biblical text for translation. So this is the broad general outcome. What we've done is taken that outcome and then made a series of competencies that then flush out this outcome. And you can see those outcomes over here in the left column. Now, take one, for example, the first one. The students demonstrates the ability to submit the exegetical process to the community in a humble and godly manner. Now here we have affective qualities as well, all right, a humble and godly manner. So we're trying to educate the complete person. And how do we do this? Well, we need some indicator. What indicates humility and godliness in this case? Now, this was very difficult to come up with some of these observable qualities because competency shows competency that you can see. So in this case, all right, for this competency, they have to explain the exegesis of 4 passages of Scripture into genres of scripture, submitted it to a translation team from the local community to be evaluated. This could be UNS checking or a series of pastoral exegetical group. The student listened sympathetically and responded in a humble, gentle, and godly manner to their feedback. So we have a competency and indicator. What you don't see here is what we call pathways to mastery, the assignments. All right, the assignments then would be, all right, they have to translate these passages. They have to submit them to the local community in a check. The translation consultant would be there to see how he responded to responses during the UNS check. Did they respond? Did they listen sympathetically? Did they respond with humility and gentleness and in a godly manner? So this is how we put this whole thing together. Now, under these competencies, there are more than just these four. There are quite a few, but each competency has an indicator so we can actually verify whether they are competent in this total outcome. So what kind of assignments do people do? Well, we want them to read the scriptures in a devotional manner as well, so we might have them read the Gospel of Matthew and Mark and look at discipleship themes. We may have them go to workshops, and all our students go to translation workshops or workshops on different issues, intercultural mentoring, leadership, etc. They may audit a class. So our students in Ethiopia, they have the option to audit Hebrew or Greek classes to learn basic Hebrew and Greek. They read textbooks. We have what we call long duration project, and this is basically the translation of scripture. And they got to translate different genres of scripture, which then is checked by a translation consultant and mentored in the process. They have to do teaching, communication, presentations of Bible translation, helping teach workshops, helping communicate the vision for Bible translation. It could be mentored research. We have ethnographic research projects where they analyze, different forms of presentations, drama, etc., that they could then integrate with scripture engagement type material, interviews of existing Bible translators and the problems that they have. So these are the type of assignments that they do to show that they have the indicator, which shows they have the competency, which then shows they have the outcome for that particular skill. So how do we evaluate all this? Well, like the CBC program that SIL put together, yes, every person has a mentor. So this is what we call the ministry mentor. This is somebody locally, often they're a person that's developing them as a CIT. We also have an academic mentor, and this person is located somewhere in the world that looks at all the material that they have handed in as part of their MA program. This person has a terminal degree, some type of doctoral degree, and is often familiar with work in that part of the world. We use other faculty here on site at the Canada Institute of Linguistics. So if we get maybe a grammar sketch in, our person that teaches grammar here at the Canada Institute of Linguistics would look at the sketch and say, yes, this meets the requirements that we have to prove competency. We also have a network mentor that networks with the group, and that's often myself, and we kind of ride herd on people who may not be mentoring or who may have gone missing in action or get together for a workshop or whatnot. Should you set up one of these programs? Here's a model as to how we deal with finances. Let's take a look at the year column here. So the total cost of the program is $5,748 Canadian. So the way we divide it up is our host institution, that's Northwest. They run the LMS system, the internet-based learning system that we use. They take about $1,000 for that. We send $960 of the tuition fee back to the field to help the ministry mentor. All right, the ministry mentor may need to help the student get from point A to point B. They may need to get from point A to point B. Maybe the student needs better internet coverage or something like that, so that goes to the field. The faculty mentor for his services gets paid $960 a year as well. And this may also be for needing to travel to see the person, and maybe some of the costs they incur. And then some of this stuff recycles back to CanIL in terms of our operations to keep everything going and the lights on, etc. That's $2,820. So this is it's a monthly fee, but it's paid by term, and you can see the annual cost there as well. As I mentioned previously, one of the reasons we set this up was because of cost issues. If you look here, a traditional CanIL graduate degree costs about $56,000 Canadian. All right, the maths degree is about $14,000. Now, it could be a bit more depending on how long the person is in the degree program. And so because all costs are paid monthly, like a subscription fee, not per credit, the longer somebody's in the program, the more it costs. So if this is paid through scholarships, it actually costs the institution. If people pay towards it, obviously the cost is a lot less. And the savings a lot of the savings are room and board and travel expenses to bring somebody here. Now, if you think room and board for 2 years, but if they bring their family and their children, that goes up incrementally as well. So it's a lot cheaper because the person can stay on site in the trenches, continue working. They're not jerked out of their project to continue their study program. One of the big changes is moving from other directed to self-directed learning for each of the students. And so this is a huge paradigm shift. I mean, all of us have probably gone to traditional school where the teacher told us what to do and when to get it in and set deadlines. Now we hear about adult education and being self-directed, but if you've never been in a self-directed program where you have to get up and you have to do your schedule and you have to set yourself deadlines, or with your mentor, this is very different. And so this is the biggest learning curve, I think, in the whole program, is that they need to get self-disciplined in doing all of this. And so, especially at the front end, to get students to actually do this and to make a learning schedule has been difficult to have them meet with their mentor. Those who do it, they make good headway. Those who are used to adult education being self-directed, it takes a long time for these persons to finally get off center and get this vehicle moving and get some stuff handed in. Now, another lessons learned is that organizations look at this often as this is online education, and they underestimate the mentoring time that they as an institution need to relegate to the student that's come on. And often this is some consultant and they are busy, and so the students are not giving the mentoring at the front end that they need. So what tends to happen is 6 months in, we don't see the work coming in like we should. And then we ask each student, all right, give each student 1 day a week to spend on their studies. And then we see some change and we start seeing material coming in. So there's an unestimated mentoring time that the students or that the organizations are not aware that the mentors need to provide for each student. So as a result, assignments not graded, study plans aren't developed, students lose interest. So this is a big issue that needs to be addressed right at the front end, and I'm not happy with how this is going. Another issue of concern is that students' preserved mastery of competence will easily be attained and demonstrated. We have quite a large prior learning assessment. And so we go through all the outcomes and we ask the students, okay, are you competent in this? And if they say yes, it has to be backed up by their ministry mentor, or they need to provide actual evidence that they have done some of these assignments. And some of these are like understanding of certain things. So this can be done through prior learning, through sermons, through actual stuff that's been translated, etc. And so some of them presume that they have mastery when this is very difficult to be demonstrated for them. And so then they still have to do some of the work. Now I do find that some of the students, most of them at least, get 10% accredited with your prior learning. Some are up to 25 to 30% because they've been CITs for a long time. But some have very difficulty in really moving on from that. Another issue we have is spiritual warfare, and this is where prayer for the students becomes an integral part to seeing the success of each student. People are, accused with having witches on their translation teams, or they themselves are accused of being witches, etc. And so this has a huge effect on the progress of both their translation and their lives sometimes. There's bureaucratic barriers. Bureaucratic barriers in the application process. We need to get the organizations on board. We need to get the organizations signing certain documents. We also need to get English language test scores, and sometimes these are difficult. In some countries, you have to have a driver's license and a passport to be able to take these English language tests. And so if they don't have these, then they can't send their scores, and so they don't get accepted. Other issues include, support from certain organizations. They endorse the program and they pull their support when new leadership gets into those programs, and so this becomes quite frustrating as well. We need consistent and constant follow-up. So, you got to keep following up with the mentors, with the students, keep them on task, etc. Sometimes I feel like a bit of a nag. I'm kind of the nagger in chief to follow up, make sure people stay on task. We have issues of very politically sensitive context. And so the program is also set up so that people can do this program and they get a pseudonym, because some of these different countries, they do a lot of snooping online to see who are students and where are students, etc. And so some do it all via paper, and so there's no online presence. And so this takes a lot more time. We have to deal with what my colleague calls aspirational affirmation. People say they have certain skills, especially in the prior learning assessment, that they really don't have. And so there's this sense, yes, God will empower me to get that skill when I need it. Often these are skills in Greek and in Hebrew and other skills, grammatical skills that they may not have, but they feel that they will suddenly be blessed with. And so they affirm that they have the skill when in reality they don't. And so again, digging down to their actual competence is very important. Another issue is adapting the program to another language and context. What we do in this case is we are working with Francophone Africa and with Indonesia, and so to find content is sometimes difficult. So, one of the outcomes is they got to know the different theories of translation, whether it's relevance theory or scopus theory, and there's not a whole lot of material in some of those languages in that. So in the English program, they can read up about this. In some of the other ones, we actually make videos about some of this material because there is no written material about it. So there's different ways you can adapt the program to other languages. And it's quite a bit of work because not only is the website translated, the assignments, the reading material, the contexts, all this material needs to change, as well as the application forms. And you need to find mentors that can then mentor in some of those languages. One question I often get is CanIL's competency-based consultant program. Does this replace that or not? There are strengths and weaknesses of each program. A lot of the competencies are the same. So if you go through CanIL's competency-based consultant program, you will meet a lot of the maths programs. But not all students can enter the maths program. Why? Because you need an undergraduate degree to get into the maths program. It's a graduate degree. So students that don't have a undergraduate degree, it's great if they go through the CanIL competency-based program. The thing that maths program has that CanIL doesn't have is it's an accredited degree that's recognized by the other institutions of higher education and different denominations around the world. So Right now, these things are running parallel. At the end, we can easily do a prior learning assessment. If somebody has gone through the SIL competency-based program, all right, we can transfer a lot of those competencies into the MATS program, and the people could end up getting a degree in the process of doing SIL's base. It'd be nice if they were kind of combined for the student with one portal website. Are we happy where things are at? No. We have a lot of issues for further development. Again, as I mentioned previously, keeping ministry mentors on task, helping them motivate their students, getting them to do work schedules for some of their students. This has been one of the weaknesses of the program that needs to be further fine-tuned. Fine-tuning assignments. Sometimes assignments are suggested in the website and sometimes they're misinterpreted, so they need to be fine-tuned so that they're clear. And yeah, the mentors need to feel free to swap some of these out with assignments that may be a little more geared to where their specific students are at. I think we need to have mentors effectively integrate AI as a training tool. It's very effective, especially when there's not a whole lot of material available in certain languages. AI can quickly provide material, especially if we create materials using AI, and then you can use programs like DeepL to then translate the material for the students as well, and we're experimenting with that as well. Fine-tuning the learning management system. There are certain issues with the learning management system that I feel still need to be fine-tuned, especially some of the communication between mentors that needs to be fine-tuned. And we need to create a network of potential mentors that can easily be identified and contacted when mentees are identified as being potential translation consultants. All right, we're working at that. We are seeing who they are working with at the present, who they would prefer to work with, and then we contact those people to be their mentees. Their ministry mentors, academic mentors are more difficult to come by. People with PhDs, DMins, EDDs, etc., to have the time to be mentors. They're difficult to find. And we need to integrate this more effectively, I feel, with the SIL CBC system as well, so there's an easy flow between the systems. And collaboration between multiple field partners, like one student. They might have a ministry mentor from one organization, a academic mentor from another organization. They are tied into our organization, Canada Institute of Linguistics, and so the funding might come from the fourth organization. So this becomes quite a web of organizations trying to work together to see these students succeed, get their MAs, get qualified to be considered as translation consultants. So yes, this is a work in progress, and we would love to work with any organization, any part of the world that wants to develop these for their own regional area or try this in their region. If right now their existing training programs are perhaps not positioned to work with students that can't easily pack up and go to a certain brick and mortar institution. So I want to thank you all for listening and just seeing what this is all about, and I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.